How are you guys doing? Okay, now you can hear me.
Now we can hear you, man.
So yeah, I cried, happy tears. It was really, really wonderful. It was very uplifting. It was so professionally done, and like the TV blowing up, man, that was just holy crap. That was amazing.
I really appreciate that. A lot of work went into making that look as realistic as we could, and my goal with this film was to have some good shock and awe in there, done very differently. If I just do it like what everybody else has been, how they've been seeing it, there's a lot of really nice Ron Paul stuff out there that's either very, well, first off, it's all non-fictional, using existing footage of Ron talking or of the crowds. And so the goal for this thing was to think very differently and show things very differently. They get to get into the consciousness of people like, I haven't seen it done that way before. And so that was largely what I was aiming for with this piece. And I think it hit the nail on the head. I've seen a lot of positive comments, and I've certainly seen some constructive criticism, and I've also seen the other side of the fence. And I think a lot of that comes from, to be quite honest, I was talking to Matt earlier today, and when you do something like this, it's not only a film, but it's a film that's political in nature. Should I keep the? You guys can hear me, okay, right? Yeah. Okay. So anyway, I kind of look at it like it's probably going to be about, my hope, I should say, at least, would be about 70% of the people will really like it or love it, and that's wonderful. And then there's going to be probably about 10% that's going to absolutely hate it for a variety of reasons, but that's subjectivity for you and personal taste. And I've been doing this for a long time. I totally get that. That's just part of the deal. And then there's going to be about another 10 or 15% that are completely indifferent. They're kind of like, oh, cool, somebody did something for Ron Paul. That's nice. Nice to see there's other people involved, and that's cool too. And then there's going to be the 5 or 6% out there who are either for Romney or for Obama, and are going to go to the ends of the earth to put all kinds of negative reactions out there. So going into it, I knew that was kind of the deal. And to be honest, it's about right there for the reactions of this thing so far.
I think that you're giving the Obama and Romney people a little bit too much credit. I don't even think there's 3 or 4 percent of those people out there actually voting. So close though.
But it's great. I mean,
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I also want to add too. This is something that's come out after all the primaries are finished, and so we don't have this really large dialed-in audience like we might have had 2 months ago. And my goal was to contribute about 2 months ago, but just practicality stuff I had going with my business didn't allow me to do that. So I think for a first day getting close to 30,000 views when it's not as much of a hot button for across the board is a heck of a start out of the gates. And I just want to thank you guys, because I could either I could create the greatest film in the world, but it isn't really going to go anywhere for how this thing is being done, at least, if I don't have people out there who are spreading the word out there about the piece. So I really appreciate your guys' help with all this.
I was upset. I was waiting for it to come out. I'm sitting there waiting on the YouTube channel. I'm like, tapping my fingers. I'm not going to bed yet. I'm waiting.
Yeah, a couple things about the deadline. Here's what really happened, okay? Now that it's out there and we can all enjoy it at our own time and not be waiting for anything, what happened was I had a crew of about 3 or 4 guys who were post-production crew that was helping me work on this. And so the explosion scene, some of the editing, certainly the sound design, all that kind of jazz, and that was going great. And some of these guys wear multiple hats where they're also on shoots. Well, here's what happened. All of a sudden, we get a last-minute call, in the 11th hour of me putting this thing to bed, where I would have slept just fine and would have had all kinds of time to hype it up and kind of, do some pre-marketing stuff right before the launch and hit my deadline. We get 2 separate phone calls. One that has one crew going out to a 3-state shoot in America, and then another call that have my crew going over to Venezuela, which is kind of unique. I mean, that's a whole other different country, a very dangerous country, by the way, if you believe everything our government tells us about them. So you have to go through a lot of custom stuff. And all of a sudden, here I am, just me, working on this, which was never the plan, but, I have to run a business. So that was the main reason. And then Saturday comes up, And I'm like, okay, all I got to do is come in and finish up the real quick few things to address the Obama, situation with Obamacare, and start uploading this bad boy. And I get to the office, and I think I mentioned in the video I put up right before this thing went live, our landlord had upgraded the electricity in the building, and he did tell me about this several times. We just never had that final conversation about which day it was going to happen on. Up there, it's terrifying.
It was. I had like a bunch of questions. How'd you cast this? Did anyone get paid? Did you do this all out of pocket? How did it?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And by the way, there's a person asking now, Jeremy, is that TV behind you? Yeah, that's Quasar orange TV behind. Quick to answer your question, Tracy, and I can get back to the TV because I did want to hopefully share a little bit of insight with you guys about this. The actors, complicated. And I think that the people that I work with, they did a tremendous job because I was the one coaching them on the delivery I was looking for. And when I was convinced I had the delivery I was looking for, job was done. Now, that being said, there's a couple creative considerations. Well, there's actually there's a business consideration, which is I did not pay a lot of money to make this happen. You know what I'm saying? Because this is coming out of my own pocket. And also, it's political nature. And also, I'm from Chicago, which is Obama town, big time. And so, it's not as efficient. Quite honestly, the people that showed up, they're all in the film. And so, and I think me personally, if you want my perspective, I'm very thrilled with Paul. Oop, am I still there? Can you guys still hear me?
We hear you. Yeah, okay.
Anyway, the couple at the beginning in the black and white with the explosion scene, that was Kevin Lingle and Pam Tierney. I've worked with Kevin on several different things, and anyway, I thought they did a tremendous job. I was very proud of those guys. Those guys are pros. They've been doing this for a long time, and they kind of nailed it to what I was looking for. The reporters that came in, they were kind of one-offs, people that I had talked to, and one way or another got to where I needed to be. And long story short, when you say it's political, when you say it has to be unlimited usage, and you say that I'm not going to pay each of you $5,000 to be in this piece, you know what I'm saying? It gets dramatically narrowed. Doesn't matter. I'm really proud. I love how they performed in the piece, and I'm real proud of the whole thing. And just to take a step back from the film, I think the important thing is I didn't make this film necessarily for the Ron Paul diehards. I mean, I did and I didn't. I want the Ron Paul people to be proud of it, of course. And I look at it kind of like that, 80-10-10 rule. 10% are going to be indifferent, 10% are going to hate it, and 80% are probably going to really like it. And I think that's the best you can ever hope for. But I didn't make it for the Ron Paul people. I made it for specifically a target age range of about 18 to 35. And I mentioned this on the last broadcast, which was this is a younger audience. So when you think about, I guess to say it one way, the grandmas and grandpas out there, or the empty nesters. I've talked to these people. I have beers with them. I go out to dinner with them. I do business with them. I have family members, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I have been pitching Ron Paul from every different angle I can think of to get them to either A, vote for him, B, tell others about him, C, just convince them in general. And what I found is, yes, there's one or two instances where they can be won over. But if you're older than, say, about 50, it's a extremely hard sell because, A, people who've worked their whole life to amass a certain amount of money, they want to protect their personal interest. And it's just a reality. And how they've gotten to that point in life has never been to be a bit, I don't know, Vanguard or Maverick or whatever, different, and go for someone like a Ron Paul who's clearly different from the rest. To them, it becomes very self-serving. And also, they've been watching the boob tube, for 50 years now, and they believe whatever it tells them. And I know I might be preaching a little bit. You guys know this. So when I made the film, I'm like, I can't make a film for them because A, they're not on YouTube. They're not using mobile devices to watch videos. But I tell you what, anybody under the age of 35 most definitely is. And this is our crowd. So if you want liberty to win out, you want to grow a political movement, you don't start with the oldest guy in the bunch. And I know there's the argument of, well, then how are we going to win the nomination? We need to win some of these guys over, and I understand that, but strategically speaking, I look at it from the perspective of, if you want to grow a movement, you got to get the young people. And if you want to get the young people, they have to see a movement that is, A, one, logical, two, not irrational, logical, they seem like reasonable people. B, they sure seem like they're a lot of fun to be around. They're very passionate, and they're good people. They're fun to be around. They have an appreciation for culture and art and exchanging ideas. So, I wanted to put together a more, hippish type piece that had a lot of ADD infused throughout the whole thing, and to have a little fun with it, because if it took a super serious tone, yeah, that would have been targeted at a slightly different bunch, but you're not going to get a kid who's 18 years old or 22 years old to sit down and watch in my opinion, sit down and watch a 15-minute poetic, more poignant swan tale type thing. I wanted it to be hip, so that's where my heart was, and by and large, the reaction I've seen, the young crowd seems to have resonated real well with it. And it sounds silly for a guy who's 41 to say this, but I'm watching what you guys are doing, and you guys are my heroes, man. Because who else am I fighting for when I do this type of thing? I'm fighting for my kids. I'm fighting for the younger generation. I understand. I'm 41. I've been around for a little while. I've seen. I've had some success in life, and I've seen, just how the system works and how it's going to have to change. And I think the only way you change it is by tapping into the youth movement and growing the base from there. And so that's why I targeted in that way and made it in that way.
Great. TV. Talk about the TV.
The TV. So a couple things here real quick. So you guys all saw the Apple remote, and I saw, some comments are like, hey, it's a Quasar TV. Why in the world would he use an Apple remote? It doesn't work that way. I'm like, okay, so just to be silly for a second, no kidding, really? The way to look at this is there's a lot of symbolism in the movie. You'll notice I used the old rotary dial phone and the GE clock, and it's in black and white, and I'm trying to use symbolism to tell a story. And the remote control, which is very modern, a 2012 device, my whole point of showing that is, look at all this technology we have in the power of our hand. So you could easily swap that out with an iPhone. It would be about the best way to do it, only you don't necessarily use iPhones to change channels, at least not a lot. But you've got all this power in your hand to go out and search and find information and to get to the truth. But yet, here we are, still watching traditional TV, at least the majority of Americans, getting their information that way. So that was the intent. And I kind of look at these things like when you put them out there, a lot of time, let me ask you, Tracy, let me ask you, Matt, how many times have you watched a movie, and for all the viewers out there, how many times have you watched a movie where the first time the reaction, a lot of times you have a great reaction. You watch Avatar, or you watch, Titanic, you're like, oh my God, these are absolutely incredible movies, epic movies, wonderful, you tell right about it. A lot of times you see movies where you're like, pretty good. And then it kind of slowly permeates and sinks into the back of your head, and then maybe a couple months go by and you're like, I want to see that again, and all of a sudden you go see it again, you're like, I remember being that good, but there's some good stuff there. And all of a sudden, a couple more weeks go by, and you watch it a third time, and then maybe a fourth time. And suddenly, it starts moving up the ranks in your head, because it takes a while for this stuff to ferment. And that's why I was looking at this. I'm like, man, I'm going to go for big time shock and awe on a lot of this stuff. And a lot of people are they're gonna immediately, I shouldn't say a lot, but some people are going to immediately, boom, push back. Because I'm challenging old notions, and I'm trying to do it in a symbolic way, so that the TV set is something to put out there and say, we're still doing this, but if I force feed it to them and make it too obvious, I tried to do it in a fun, creative way. They just need to slowly make it their own and do their investigation on their own, and they'll start to come to some of these truths. And I think over time, Elektable is going to have some legs. I can get through this first week, and I think it's going to have legs. It's just at least that's my goal.
I don't see why it wouldn't. Matt, go ahead.
Sometimes, people are going to push back right away because it's something, like you said, there's that shock value to it, and it's new to them. So what they're going to kind of do is try to push back and see if you'll maybe change a little bit and apologize so they feel more comfortable. But what we need to realize right now is we don't need to make other people feel comfortable. We need to make sure that we're getting information across in an interesting way that, as sad as it sounds, our society's fallen so low where they'd rather go play video games, Grand Theft Auto, instead of learning about what's actually happening in our country. So you have to include a little bit of that video game feel to it to make it so the younger masses kind of connect with it and start growing in the movement too. Oh, Jeremy didn't push the button.
Absolutely, well said, Matt. And I'm now pushing the button too. You know, and there was a couple other things I wanted to point out, and I guess maybe I'm jumping ahead a little bit here. But, you know, I talked to Matt a little bit earlier today, and this is something I wanted to share with everybody, and that is, you know, when I first started pursuing this, I was reaching out to people, and I wasn't having a whole lot of luck getting them to take me seriously. So that's why I started putting videos out, and I started trying to get the production value up. I'm like, I get it. I'm a new guy to these guys. I haven't seen my face before. I've not put out tons of YouTube videos. And ultimately, I started to come to the conclusion that I'm just going to have to do something really big to get everybody's attention. And more than anything else, I just want to do that because I want to help, and I think it would make a difference. And then after I do that, hopefully I'll have gained some trust, and then I'll be able to collaborate on future projects moving forward. So Elektable, I want to have really long legs, man. Believe me, I want it to get a big audience for all the right reasons, okay? Because I did this for free, you know what I'm saying? So I definitely have the right intentions for this thing. But more importantly is what happens after Elektable. And I just want you guys to know that I have a studio here, you know, with production stage and all types of wizardry going on. And people like, you know, Matt, and just to throw a bunch of other names out there, it all depends on who you guys would want to be part of this, but Josh Charlie or T-Mod, whoever it may be, we can talk about collaborations moving forward. And now that hopefully I've earned some trust, you guys we can collaborate on it more, you know, because now you guys know who I am, and I've had a chance to meet you guys. And so, you know, I can't do everything for free. We'd have to talk about that, but honestly, it's all very manageable. And you know, I know how to run my business and be smart, and I can work in the Liberty arrangement in the whole thing. But I mean, wouldn't it be great to potentially down the road, when the time is right, to fly Matt Larson out here, to fly T-Mon out here, to fly Tracy Diaz out here, whoever, Ben Swan. I've talked to Ben Swan many times. To get you guys out here and to have discussions about the issues that matter and film it in a very professional setting. You know, I can do that. And so anyway, those are the kinds of things that I think Elektable opens the doors for. So it's you know, it's in your best interest, I think, to, you know, to think about the opportunity here and to fight for what this piece represents, because, you know, when I look at the YouTube page, I know that's the biggest jungle out there. There's an awful lot of trolling going on right now that's deliberately trying to make this put a bad taste in people's mouth, and I have to laugh. I'm just like, whatever. Truth is going to win out. I know I did the right thing, but there's a strategic thing going on out there by opposing forces or whatever, you know, I think if there's anybody out there who's on the fence for what this particular effort was about, just remember that I'm in this for the long distance, and I'm here to help you guys and to really build a heck of a media platform to make sure that your voices are heard.
What I don't understand what there'd really be to question. I mean, it's just facts, and it's a cool movie. Like, I don't really understand why people would be saying some of the things that they're saying, and I just ignore that kind of stuff because the film speaks for itself. I feel, and Carlos is down there causing trouble as usual. So, you know, I think it was amazing, and the strategy for moving forward to get all that done and do it, maybe even, you know, you had some comedy in there at the end, which I thought was really great, some bloopers and stuff. I would have liked to see a little bit more of that because it made me chuckle. It was great to see, like, the you know, how it was so good-hearted and you had fun doing it. Maybe you could just put out a blooper reel. That would be great, piggyback that on top of it.
Yeah, I have a lot of stuff that didn't, you know, actually, here's something funny that, well, I shouldn't say fun. Well, actually, let's put it this way. I did have an extended blooper reel, and you know what? The only reason that I was put is that I had some guy had repurposed the video today, and he took out the blooper reel just because, for, you know, personal taste reasons, and I get it. Unfortunately, by the way, they can't do that because this has licensed music in it, and I had to pay for that, so that's got to come down. I already talked to those guys about that. Anyway, you got to have fun with what you're doing, especially when we all work as hard as we do. You got to find a way to celebrate the effort, and so that's what I was looking at. And plus not only that, I thought it was interesting to say now we're truly behind the scenes of these reporters. And by the way, most of those reporters were huge Ron Paul fans. I wasn't making that up. They were on our team, and they're like, "Well, what do you want me to say?" Like the blonde girl, her name is Laura Polina. She's a great actress. She does a lot of work in Chicago, and she came in. She's like, "My first audition 5 years ago was for Richter Studios, and she used to work for C-SPAN." Laura did, the blonde girl. And she was like, I'm a huge Ron Paul fan, and you should see the atmosphere out there for this guy. I was out there for 2 years. Same thing could be said for several of the other reporters. So I'm like, this is even better. First off, the Bridget Erickson, the girl with the flag, her and I've worked together for over a year, and I got to know her better because of all the Ron Paul posts she was doing on Facebook, and I'm like, okay, so what's this girl's deal? And she's like, well, I have a finance degree, and she goes, all I do is think in economic terms, and I think that, both Romney and Obama are headed down the wrong road. We got to go Austrian economics. And I'm like, holy smokes, she's hardcore. She's talking about Austrian economics, and I'd worked with her on 5 or 6 productions at that point. But anyway, it was the same story with the reporters. So I thought that thing at the end was just, a lot. You got to have fun with what you're doing, man. You got to have fun.
How does your wife feel about you working so closely with the flag girl?
You know what? In that instance, she says you're free to do whatever, what you got to do for Ron Paul, because she's matter of fact, 4 years ago, she didn't get a chance to do it this time around because of other commitments on a personal level, but she was actively calling for Ron Paul for 3-4 weeks leading up to a lot of the primaries, or maybe it was even more like 5-6 weeks, but it was a while, and she definitely put the time in, and obviously has voted for Ron Paul and told everybody about, she's a very big Ron Paul fan. And I'll tell you a funny story. We went to Disney World in November, and it was our first really nice vacation as a family. Had been able to take in like 2 years, and we're just all super excited, and we were there for like 10 days. Great time. Anyway, my wife brought 2 separate Ron Paul shirts, and I didn't. I didn't even think about it. I was like, oh, God, it's a great place to advertise for your guy, So this was last November. Anyway, I'm not kidding you. If we did not get at least 100 different people, talking about 100 different people come up to us and say, that's my guy. I'm so glad to see you wear that shirt. And it was ridiculous. And then other conversations kind of grew from that. But think about that. 100 people stopped us dead in our tracks. We had people come up to us, and we were, joking around as a family. And they could tell we're having fun, and I had a camera around me on a couple of days, and I said, sir, you got a beautiful family, we're very polite, and this is people working at Disney. And then they said, can I take a picture of you and your family, mainly because of the shirt your wife's wearing? That happened several times. It's so cool, man. So she's hardcore.
It's always fun. Whenever I used to wear my sweatshirt around, I'd get a bunch of people coming up to me, and they're part of the family. It's almost like you're in a secret clique, and that person's cool after they come up to you and compliment your shirt or honk at your car because you got it all swagged out. Pretty funny. Someone was asking in the room, what is the main thing you want people to take away from the movie?
Well, that's if I had one thing, it would be the fact that the media has never told the truth about Ron Paul. That would be the number one thing. So how can I do that in a fun way? Because I didn't want this to take on any kind of sinister tone, because, you could be more hardcore about it. And I thought, that's going to turn so many people, my personal opinion, that would turn more people off than on, and it gets conspiratorial at some point. It's a very delicate thing to balance, but if there's one thing, it would definitely be the media. And I laugh when I read some of the comments, whether it's on the Daily Paul or on YouTube, where literally these people are like, no, man, you're in a conspiracy world. And this is even before Elektable got put out, that they would ever suppress the truth about Ron Paul. And I'm like, he had 10,000 people at UCLA. Not a single mainstream outlet even took 1 second to cover that. That's remarkable. This guy didn't have $100 million pushing that he was going to be in some big stadium. There's none of that going on. This is true grassroots, and you completely ignored him. And that happened how many times? University of Illinois. It's crazy. So that would be the number one message I want people to take for is the media sure as heck isn't telling the truth. And specifically, they're not telling the truth about Ron Paul, because he is winning by a landslide. And they're in cohorts with an awful lot of money, and I get it. I understand the game completely. We all get that there's interest out there. They're protecting turf and whatnot. But the reality is, you guys are winning out because more and more people. I mean, look at the ratings of the mainstream media. They still have a grip on power to some degree, but their ratings are the lowest they've been in 20 years. Why? Because nobody trusts them anymore. And
Yep.
I do want to say this one thing about the media, and specific to this year or two. It's not that I hate the media. And it's also not that I hate the government that I'd make a piece like this. I want to love my government. I'm proud of my country, and I also want to reward the media for giving me good information. I'm not getting it now. So that's as simple as it can be.
And also someone wants to know the K.
Yeah, the K. Thank you. Great question. So the K is really, to be honest, it was strategic. So I'm going to put on my marketing hat for now. If you Google Elektable, or on YouTube, or you just Google it in general, you're going to get Mitt Romney, Obama, whatnot, and it's a pretty big uphill battle on that one. And I see an awful lot, by the way, in political circles, in art form, where the spelling is intentionally done wrong, and that's to try to get people to think a little differently. But also, so that is a big part of it. So that's the creative consideration, and then the other consideration was how to incorporate the love symbol into the logo. And the only way I could make it happen was with the K. The C was just not going to fly. And then thirdly, how can we own a term? And so we can own Elektable. Elektable with a K, we own from here on out permanently. And what I like about this, and this is definitely for the convention, but also post-convention for you guys, do we have Elektable ideas? And you know that we do. So that's a term you guys need to own, and in one way or another, make it the word that's impossible to defeat, because you own it, and you've shown all the different ways and why your platform is the most electable platform out there. And eventually people will come your way. And I think the best way you can do that is through having a dialogue, but also through creativity.
Matt, you have anything to add?
Yep. I was just going to ask you, what are your next projects coming up, I guess? We already talked about other people possibly being able to come out and just have like a nice roundtable discussion. But other than that, are you foreseeing anything in the near future, political?
Yeah, I would say, well, one thing, before I get out of here, I'm working on it. This is pretty basic, but I think it'll be a nice piece. Tomorrow at some point, let's just put it that way, I'm going to have an Elektable trailer come out, because I think it'll help. We'll do a little bit of advertising behind that, so very brief, like 30 seconds, 35 seconds. It's going to have the explosion scene in it, and it's going to get right to the point, and basically, and I can tell you right now what it's going to say. If you guys want me to tell you?
Yeah.
Yeah, happy to share. So basically, it's hold on here. I've got the
button's not down.
He's reading. He's looking for something.
All right, so the script is very basic, and it just says, all his life, he has told the truth. It's showing, obviously, footage of Ron Paul. But has the mainstream media told Americans the truth about Ron Paul? And then it cuts to the clip of the wife saying, imagine if we had a truth button on the remote, and then we could get to the bottom of this. Just an explosion of the truth, yada, yada, yada. And then, he pushes the button, big explosion. See the short film Elektable now to learn how Ron Paul can still win the nomination. Done.
It's pretty good.
And so that way, from a marketing hook, I kind of look at this and I say to myself, even if they don't watch the 15-minute film, the reality is they just heard Ron Paul can still win the nomination. I had no idea. Mission accomplished. So beyond that, Matt, to answer your larger question, really what I'd like to do, I think, is to get more feedback from people like yourself and Tracy in the community to find projects that have a greater voice in them, because this one was just me, man, and I'm fine with whatever criticism comes my way, but it was a little stressful, just because I'm like, man, I hope I got this right. I hope, because some parts I'm like, I'm going for a laugh, or I'm going for, something a little different, you know, and you take creative risk, right? Some of them pay off and some don't. But moving forward, I would like to do more Liberty projects. I would just want to get more people's voices heard, and you know, just make it a bit more collaborative. And initially, you know, right off the bat, you know, what's on my plate, I don't know, but I'm liking the opportunities because, you know, I've got a production stage here. I've got the best cameras in the world. I've got a direct line to you guys now, and I think what we need to do is sleep on it and think about, you know, what would be a way that would matter, and then let's reach out to everybody. And I have a short film idea for Jeremy. Can I talk real quick, please? Sure, sounds good to me. Anyway, don't have a specific thing this very second, but I definitely want to keep the dialogue going, and I'm dialed in now, man. So what's the question this person had? I forget. I wasn't even seeing who it was.
Oh, someone's saying he's not ruling out people over the age of 50. You explain, Jeremy. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Well, I think Liberty, and this will be completely stealing this line from Ron Paul, but I think Liberty has universal appeal. It's the young at heart concept. So it doesn't matter if you're 80, 90. You know, if you believe in liberty, you're forever young. So I mean, I didn't mean it like that. I'm just saying, in the delivery, the structure of the film was going to have a youthful appeal to it. Youthful, though, can be, you know what I'm saying? That doesn't mean an age. That just means that's the notion of how I wanted it to come across, to have that energy, you know, and just create a vibe to it. So she's, you know, whoever just said that, absolutely right. You know, I've shown several of my friends who fall into the older age bracket. They thought it was the baddest, coolest thing in the world. Like, wow, you guys are willing to do this for Ron Paul? Like, man, you must be pretty passionate. I'm like, well, take a look. There's a reason why, and they are.
We'll have to connect. I have some ideas as well. So we'll have to connect offline and chat about that stuff.
Yeah, I'm all ears, guys. I mean, and I think it's only better. You know what I'm saying? It'd be nice if there was a little bit of a, you know, I don't know, survey mechanism of some sort to say, what type of format would you guys want? You know what I'm saying? I mean, this was fictional, and it had to be fictional in order for it to have the shock value. You know what I'm saying? Because if I go by truth, there's been so many great videos out there that have been done. The ones that got me initially involved in the effort, telling, you know, hardcore truth stuff, that I was like, I'm not going to go there, man. Moving forward, I think we could definitely do stuff like that, because now at least you guys know me.
We could put a poll up on Liberty Chat and on Tribune, and we can have that question asked, and people can answer it for you.
I think that'd be fantastic, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys completely get the web. You are you're activists. You're very involved. And what I can bring to the equation is I think I'm not as strong as you guys are on a lot of that stuff. But I am strong on the media and filmmaking. And the future is what you guys are doing, and they know it. And as long as we protect our freedom on the internet and our ability to express our opinion, we're going to be able to kick their ass. You know what I'm saying? So fight hard for that one, and know that there's guys like me who are, you know, definitely out there wanting to that can help out and give you the tools you need, give you the right environment.
On Thursday, I believe what Chris is talking about, we're having exactly T-Mott, Josh Tolley, me, myself, Amanda Doyle, and we're just kind of going to have basically that roundtable discussion that you were talking about earlier, Jeremy, just having very liberty-minded people all in one group kind of discussing things. And that's basically what Ron Paul Tribune is, the chat sites. I mean, it's all people for the most part just coming together and talking about it, except for I think we're just going to have everyone up on video for the most part. So some really good ideas have come out of there.
Yeah, I think even if it's like a promo piece that you guys did or something like that, just something so that the people who are activists, they're not going to so much care about all the production quality, but to generate a larger interest and to help with the, hate to say it this way, but the branding of Ron Paul Tribune and sites like this to, you know, to get the absolute best professional bang for your buck and your audience, there's some things we can do there too, you know, and it's not that complicated. I mean, I've done so many of these things, and I can get right to the point I mean, you guys saw how I promoted via Facebook, Electable, all the images that were going up there, and I was like, I can generate interest and put out very professional stuff very quickly. So, you know, we gotta keep that conversation going, man. I'm totally down. Oh man, we're almost up to 60 people now. I wasn't even watching. This is good.
I honestly think that would be a great idea, getting all these people together. I think just getting that production value would actually increase quite a bit. Just the audience retention and the attention, just actually people paying attention to what you're saying, and there's the hardest thing to retain attention span. So if you can get people engaged in the video and actually paying attention and listening to the words, that'll create a vacuum to the internet, and hopefully they start YouTubing and Googling who Ron Paul is, and they wake up that way. So I'm all in on that idea. I definitely take part in it and see what we can do from there.
And we're doing a round table discussion here for one of our corporate clients, and they have a bit more creative flair, or at least appreciation for creativity. Sometimes, and I'm saying that nice. Sometimes corporate clients just, they don't have that luxury, or it's just not the strategic objective of what they're trying to do, and it is what it is, and they get it. But as an example, it's the middle of next month we're going to be doing this. We have this big space next to ours. We're going to bring in some, you know, from our studio, some really nice sofas and dress it up nice. We're bringing food in and have a very relaxed roundtable discussion where we're putting the cameras on dolly tracks, and there's going to be some nice movement to it. And we're going to let these guys have at it for 2 hours, you know. And the reality is, the perception, you know, in my business, I'm in the business of perception. You know what I'm saying? It's really what I'm in. And I hate to say propaganda, but I'm also in a bit of that too. And people, you know, first impressions and perception is everything. So to put you guys in an environment where it's clear that the production values are very high, that goes a long ways, because you know what? Then they're going to hear what you guys are saying. And I know you guys would kill it, period. Across the board, you can defend yourself. And that's part of the problem, I think. It's kind of funny. I had a conversation with a guy in a bar not too long ago, and anyway, he heard that I was a Ron Paul guy. And the dude was like a goddamn, you know, mad dog all over me. You know, just, Ron Paul's done this and that. You got to quit it with him, and you got to, you know, get behind Romney, because that's the only way we're going to beat, you know, Obama. Obama's going to go down, you know. And I was like, so you want me to compromise, you know, on my personal opinions, beliefs, morals, and everything just to beat Obama? He's like, I understand what you're saying. Ron's a good guy, but blah, blah, blah. He basically threw out all the, I was like, no, I'm not going to make a compromise on my virtue. Fuck that. Sorry to be swearing, but I'm not going to do that. It's not going to happen. You know, maybe that's you. Maybe that's you've been taught all your life, and I think you're a great guy, but politically, that's bullshit, man. It's not going to happen. And, you know, my kids would be terribly unproud of their father. He sold his soul out that way. So here's another beer. Let's stop talking about politics. You know, that was the end of the conversation. But for a guy like that, if he could see you guys in a room with high production values, being able to, you know, articulate your views, suddenly, you know, again, you're not going to force feed him. He's just going to see it passing, kind of like Electable. They see it passing, even if they only see a minute of it, and they go, man, there's something going on. Maybe I should look into that another time. So I think there's real opportunity there, and I'm going to pursue it with you guys until you basically just see it my way.
I don't think that you need to pursue too hard. I'm already abuzz with ideas in my head, so that's awesome.
Well, guys, we have 7 minutes left, so who else has questions for Jeremy? We got him for another 7 minutes.
Go ahead, Christine.
Jeremy, what's the best way to contact you? Through email or work phone, or what do we got?
Yeah, best way to reach me is just info@richterstudios.com. So that's info@Richter and Richter's R-I-C-H-T-E-R, and then studios.com. And then just make sure you put in the header, you know, Ron Paul inquiry or something like that. And then I see every one of those emails that come in, and I'll take it seriously and do my best to get back to you. Yes, the person that says Talking Liberty down there, that's I'm sorry, is that you, Tracy? Yeah, that's my email address. So absolutely. And you know, the other thing too, so I don't forget to mention this to you guys. First, thanks off for the Twitter bomb. That's awesome that you guys are owning it and getting it out there. It's funny, our animator Leon, who destroyed that explosion scene, man, he's so good. He came in this morning. He was on vacation last week, and he's like, God you know what? He's like, you guys got a huge rumble going out there on Twitter right now. I'm like, oh, wait till tonight, man. I think it's going to be even bigger. And he's like, wow, you guys, impressive. And he's not, he's politically dialed in, but he was very, he had made some very nice remarks because he was looking into that. But the other thing I wanted to real quick mention was Electable. There's an awful lot of art in this film that can be, have a shelf life. It can be extended in a variety of ways. And, this idea of a truth button. What is everybody's thoughts on creating a truth button and wearing it down to the convention? And it could be something as simple as says the truth button, and underneath it, vote your conscience. That's a $2, $3 thing, and you could play that up, because, Doug Weed, when you guys had him down on the other day, he said, the international media is going to probably shame the American media because they know what's going on with Ron Paul. And I'm like, yeah, and if they see a whole heck of a lot of people wearing this truth button, they're at least going to inquire about, well, what are you getting at? I'm like, well, obviously, Ron Paul, it's the truth that's been suppressed about him, and he's got a chance to win here. Let's talk about that. You're going to have a captive audience with the international media who's going to want to have a different perspective. So I'd like to see if anybody has interest in that, because I can real quick put something together, and it costs me nothing.
Jeremy, why don't you email me, or I'll email you after the show, and we'll try and hook Paul Festival into it.
That's a great idea. Absolutely. Because, if I could go iconically through the movie really quick here, like this guy saying, or Ken saying, how about a T-shirt with a 18-inch truth button on front and back? Exactly. Totally, you're nailing it. And, vote your conscience. And, somebody's got a domain down here. Perfect. So these are all good things to have. But also, the couple on the bed at the end that says, honey, do you want your glasses? And she comes back and says, no, I could see again. It's like, that was a line that was intentional. I hope you guys are seeing, damn straight, I get it. And, and I could go on and on, a couple different lines in the film that I think we need to play up, maybe pick one or two, and go with it, man.
I think doing some advertising, doing down at Paul Fest would be huge. It's going to be tons of Ron Paul people down there, but we need to expand it out of Paul Fest too. Yeah, it'll be nice having those people view the video and getting it to a million people to watch the video, but we need to be thinking, how can we reach a larger audience outside of the Ron Paul people? So the T-shirts, I think, would be a great idea, because then they would buy them there and hopefully wear them outside of Paul Fest and go out on the streets and do mass advertising that way. So if we would do the actual T-shirts or posters, you have to make sure that you wear them outside of Paul Fest. Otherwise, all you did is donated some money and didn't help the cause at all, because we already know about Ron Paul. It's the people out on the streets are the ones that need to be educated about him.
I agree totally with you on that, and I think so. Let's put some minds around this, and I could real quickly come up with some ideas and throw them out there and see what you guys think. It could be just as simple as, and I don't know how you'd say it, but somehow get the notion of the truth button across the T-shirt. It's like, to find out more, go to whatever, if it's elektable.com or whatever. I don't care, whatever the right way to do it is, but ultimately, you're not being told the truth. Imagine if we all had a truth button. What would we say, about politics, or about Ron Paul, or about liberty, And then people see that shit, and if it's simple to remember the URL, they go there, man. They're like, boom, all over it.
We got 1 minute left, I believe, before the next show comes on, so I think I'm going to try and wrap it up. But that truth button's a great way to end. Amazing idea. We definitely have to do this, talk about this, and keep this going. And there's a million people with great ideas in the room. Thank you so much. People want your autograph. Thank you so much for coming and spending an hour with us, and it was amazing.
You bet, man. You guys are my heroes, man. I'm glad that the film's been well received, and let's, good luck with the Twitter bomb tonight. You guys make me terribly proud to be part of this effort, that we can all work together on this. Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming on, Jeremy.
See you
Take
soon.
care.